President Trump. He has been incredibly disrespectful and also been pushing a political agenda. All of a sudden, he's an
Prince
expert.
Harry's life in the United States is once again under an unforgiving spotlight. As political pressure, legal questions, and renewed public scrutiny converge on the Duke of Sussex's immigration status. Nearly 5 years after relocating to California, what was once presented as a fresh start away from royal constraints is increasingly defined by uncertainty and by forces Harry can no longer control. Asterisk. The latest controversy centers on whether Harry accurately disclosed past drug use on his U.S. visa application, an issue revived following his own admissions in his memoir Spare. Conservative legal groups argue that those disclosures, when compared against immigration requirements, raise legitimate questions about whether the prince received preferential treatment. Asterisk. While U.S. authorities have not indicated any imminent action, the growing chorus demanding transparency has placed Harry in an awkward position. A global figure who renounced royal privilege, yet now finds that his status offers neither protection nor clarity. Asterisk. Calls for transparency grow louder. Asterisk. At the forefront of the push is the Heritage Foundation, a Washington-based conservative think tank that has repeatedly called on the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to release Harry's immigration records. The group argues that public trust demands equal application of the law, regardless of fame or title. Asterisk. Niall Gardner, a senior figure at the foundation, has insisted that if Harry failed to disclose information accurately, immigration law leaves little room for discretion. If an ordinary applicant had provided misleading information, consequences would follow. Gardner said in a recent statement, "The same standard must apply here." Asterisk. The foundation has not alleged wrongdoing outright, but maintains that transparency alone would resolve the issue. DHS, however, has so far resisted calls to make the records public, citing privacy protections that apply to all visa holders. Asterisk. That refusal has only intensified speculation. Politics enters the picture. Complicating matters further are Prince Harry's increasingly visible political interventions. Long vocal on issues such as misinformation, online safety, and media accountability, Harry has recently adopted a more confrontational tone toward figures associated with former President Donald Trump. Asterisk. While Harry has not endorsed any political candidate, his public criticism has drawn sharp responses from conservative commentators who argue that foreign nationals, particularly those with unresolved visa questions, should avoid wading into political debates. Asterisk. Royal analysts say this marks a notable shift in Harry's public posture. This is not the cautious media-trained prince we saw in the early California years, said one UK-based royal observer. There's a new confidence, but also a new risk. Asterisk. The concern, analysts say, is not merely political backlash, but the possibility that public provocation could fuel further calls for legal scrutiny. Asterisk. The memoir that keeps haunting him. Asterisk. Much of the controversy traces back to Spare, Harry's 2023 memoir that shattered royal conventions with its candor. Among its most discussed passages were Harry's admissions of experimenting with drugs, which he framed as part of youthful exploration rather than dependency. Asterisk. At the time, the disclosures were treated largely as sensational headlines. Today, they are being re-examined through a legal lens. Asterisk. U.S. immigration law requires visa applicants to disclose past drug use, though enforcement and outcomes vary widely. Legal experts note that admissions alone do not automatically disqualify an applicant, but misrepresentation can carry serious consequences. Asterisk. What matters is consistency, said one immigration attorney not connected to the case. If what was disclosed privately differs materially from what was later admitted publicly, that's where issues arise. Asterisk. No evidence has been presented showing Harry misrepresented his application. Still, the absence of clarity has allowed the issue to linger. Life in America, a mixed reality publicly. Harry's life in California appears comfortable, even enviable. He resides in a multi-million-dollar home in Montecito, attends high-profile events, and maintains a global platform. Privately, reports suggest a more complicated reality. Asterisk recent coverage by Page 6 portrayed Harry as increasingly detached from daily professional commitments, with Meghan Markle leading most commercial and branding efforts. One unnamed source described him as uncertain about his next chapter, a characterization his supporters dismiss as speculative. Asterisk. Yet even sympathetic observers acknowledge that Harry's post-royal identity remains unresolved. Media deals with Netflix and Spotify brought initial momentum, but output has been inconsistent. Spotify ultimately severed ties, and Netflix projects have slowed. Asterisk, the promise was reinvention, said a U.S. media analyst. The result has been fragmentation. Financial and organizational pressures are kale. The foundation and media umbrella, launched with great fanfare, has faced increasing scrutiny over staffing changes and limited visible impact. While the organization continues to publish annual reports, critics argue its footprint remains modest compared to expectations set by the Sussexes themselves. Asterisk supporters counter that ArcUL focuses on targeted initiatives rather than scale, but the perception of contraction has fueled narratives of financial strain. Asterisk sources familiar with the organization say cost-cutting measures have been implemented quietly, reflecting broader challenges across the media and nonprofit sectors. Still, for a couple once positioned as global changemakers, the optics are difficult to manage. Speculation of a UK return as pressure mounts in the United States. Speculation has resurfaced about whether Harry may seek to re-establish a foothold in Britain. While no official plans have been announced, the idea has gained traction among royal commentators. Asterisk, a return would be fraught with obstacles. Relations with King Charles remain strained but civil, while ties with Prince William are widely regarded as fractured beyond easy repair. Security disputes, including Harry's unsuccessful legal challenge for taxpayer-funded police protection, remain unresolved. Asterisk, yet some analysts believe necessity could override sentiment. Asterisk, if circumstances in the U.S. become untenable, a limited UK presence could be reframed as pragmatic rather than emotional, said one former palace advisor. That matters enormously for public perception. The royal family's delicate balance for the monarchy, any renewed association with Harry presents risks. King Charles is focused on stability amid health concerns, while Prince William is preparing for greater responsibility. The institution has worked carefully to project unity and continuity. Asterisk. Harry's re-entry, especially under controversy, could disrupt that narrative. Asterisk. The palace cannot appear reactive, said a constitutional expert. It must remain above personal drama, even when that drama involves family, free speech, and online safety debates, another dimension complicating. Harry's public image is his advocacy for stronger regulation of online platforms. Framed as a child protection issue, his proposals have drawn criticism from free speech advocates, who warn of censorship and surveillance risks. Asterisk, in the United States, where free expression holds near sacred status, such positions have placed Harry at odds with influential civil liberties groups. Critics argue that his approach lacks nuance, while supporters say his lived experience with media abuse lends credibility. Asterisk, either way, the debate has entrenched Harry further into America's culture wars, an uncomfortable place for a foreign-born public figure with unresolved legal questions. Asterisk, A. Defining moment asterisk as Prince Harry approaches the midpoint of his 40s. The choices before him appear narrower than they once did. The promise of liberation from royal constraints has collided with the realities of politics, law, and public accountability. Asterisk, no deportation proceedings are underway. No visa revocation has been announced. Yet the absence of resolution has become its own burden. Asterisk, for now. Harry remains in California, continuing his advocacy, planning speaking engagements, and navigating a landscape that is far less forgiving than the one he left behind. Asterisk, whether he doubles down on his American life or quietly recalibrates his future toward Britain. One reality is clear: the scrutiny that follows. Prince Harry has not diminished. It has merely changed jurisdictions, and as legal questions, political tensions and personal ambition intersect. The Duke of Sussex faces a truth he once sought to escape: that life outside the monarchy offers freedom, but no immunity.